Stanley Black & Decker provides tools and services around the globe to help turn great ideas into reality and to help us shape the world we live in. We proudly support programming that inspires invention, innovation, and hard work. Together with Make48, we're providing men and women the tools and resources to build a better world. Stanley Black & Decker, for those who make the world.
Previously on Make48, the teams gathered supplies at a local hardware store.
I think this is kind of close enough to the material that it'll show what we're going for.
Yeah, we went to a hospital last night hoping they'd give us something, and they didn't have much to give.
Then they began building their prototypes and bringing their ideas to life.
So we're working on making a sensor that detects floodwater before you drive your car into it.
Welcome to Make48. Everyone's got a big idea.
Make48 teams, your attention, please. As you can see by the clock behind me, we are just a little below the halfway mark. We know that you're making prototypes are spinning up, coming about, it's all starting to take physical form. That's great. Now is a critical time where you can use and you need some very good feedback. So we have assembled a focus group, a small panel of experts that are going to meet with each one of you individually as a team, and you're going to give a soft pitch. You're then going to do a little Q&A with our panel. They're going to give you some incredibly valuable feedback, and from that feedback, you will know what you need to do or not do as you move forward with this idea, okay? Any questions? We're ready to get into our focus groups? Hear what they have to say? Ready? All right, let's do it.
Focus group to us is a really important process that you have to go through for any product. We've brought in some industry experts. We have Jed, who's really good at e-commerce. Maya is really good at merchandising and marketing. And Tim is a product designer, so he can give the tweaks that are needed for the products at that stage of the game. Got 8 minutes to tell us what you got, and we'll give you some feedback.
The Saxa solvers from Georgetown University have chosen to tackle a very sensitive subject: school shootings. Their solution is a bulletproof shield that can be hidden in a door frame and then easily deployed during an active shooter situation. However, there is still some concern about the cost.
You've chosen obviously an incredibly heavy and serious subject to cover, right? And I think that's fine, but I do worry about the application and the target market. The target market, I think you're saying, is schools, right? So knowing the limited budgets they already have there, is this something that that they can consider in their budgets, right? Just talking about Kevlar materials, which I'm sure is pretty expensive as well.
We hold the focus group at the 24-hour mark. We bring in some people that haven't seen the product yet at that point, including myself. We don't want to see teams walk in and still be just throwing ideas. It's also the point where the teams can pivot if they think it's necessary to pivot and change to a different product to be making it for the rest of the competition. The focus group itself is a really good dry run for the pitch, so that when they're pitching to the judges, they know what they want to say, they get the point across, and they do a good presentation.
Team Moonshot, representing the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, showed their mobile triage device to the focus group. The small clip-on gadget uses green, yellow, and red LED lights to signal your status to emergency personnel. They highlight the interconnectivity of the product and its multiple uses outside of emergency situations, including allowing families to stay connected.
I would say that I don't like having the name on anything or my address. If my child loses it or someone finds it, they would know my child's name. They're in an amusement park and they get separated from me. I don't want someone looking at that, find their name.
The team from the Kansas City Art Institute have created an easily stackable and deployable lighting system to assist first responders in search and rescue operations. Using their education in interactive arts, they've designed a product that's compact and versatile.
I definitely think the biggest thing to this is going to be storage ability, and then the deployment, because you don't want to add that one more bulky item to a police vehicle or whatever they have that just takes up more room for them. But I think you're on a pretty good track there with where you're going.
Hi, we're the Creative Canes with the University of Miami, and we're here to pitch you Coolaroo.
The University of Miami's Creative Canes have developed an insulated barrier to help keep refrigerators cool when the power is out. Utilizing pockets strategically placed in the barrier, a user can add cold packs to keep the temperature of the refrigerator at optimal levels for a prolonged period of time, saving both food and medicine during an emergency situation.
Do you think you're going to be able to try this out before tomorrow?
This will be based around the mini fridge in our hotels.
The frozen engineers representing Michigan Technological University show the focus group their idea for a new kind of fire alarm system. Their system is a smart system and will help direct people out of a burning building. Lights attached to the ceiling are connected to a smart hub that will signal if a pathway is unsafe.
You'll do a fire alarm maybe once every 6 months or so, but when it actually happens, no one actually knows which direction to go to. So that's where I think it could be valuable, but you're gonna need to start thinking in much larger scales than the introductory pack.
It really felt like a conversation. I mean, we kind of had that little bit of a jump start of this is what it is, kind of our initial idea, but then it seemed very casual after that, like it wasn't high pressure or anything like that. So it was a nice environment to kind of talk through those ideas and help us progress to try to finish our idea completely.
I would also look to with all the Airbnb multi-unit properties.
That's a good point.
Because people are staying in places they're not familiar, but people who live there know. That might be your other market you could expand into pretty easily if you know there's a lot of Airbnb places going in there.
Using the story of the canary in the coal mine as their inspiration, Studio Potluck from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago have created an elegant redesign of a carbon monoxide detector.
Do you have a test button on there, just like the old-fashioned smoke detector where you have to push it every...
I mean, there is one. We're using existing technology of carbon monoxide detectors, so it would have a test button on there.
I think it's really important though that you hit the story about the miners and the canary and why the product's named that. Like from a retail packaging point of view and from a consumer grabbing their attention, you have to call out that story. So lead off with that.
It's a good marketing product.
It's a great marketing ploy to use and gain the attention of why this is just different, but it's also what they used in traditional old ways.
Yeah.
While the focus group evaluates the ideas, the teams continue working with the tool techs on their prototypes.
You've got a three-dimensional object, but you've got flat pieces that you can break up into individual pieces. So if you can export a two-dimensional vector, and then just let me know what the thickness that you wanted, we could plasma cut either 1/4 inch, 3/16, 8-inch steel.
And people are here to weld, so we can just have like the most basic vectors.
No, we'll weld for you.
I love being able to ask all the experts questions and everyone, it's because we'll like branch off and have so many ideas in different directions, and then when we talk to somebody we get to come back in and see what points of our concept are like the most interesting, the most sellable. I'm trying to think of a way that we can have like quickly output multiple like the same file so they fit together. We're using like CNC.
These groups, a lot of them knew how to 3D model themselves. They had some level of CAD experience and some industrial design experience. And so really, when they came to us, it was pretty concise what question they had and what they needed help with, and could we make this, I was surprised on how educated and straightforward and concise they were with whenever they interacted with tool techs. I was really surprised by that.
Hurricanes and tornadoes. As scary as these events are, there's something that we need to be prepared for. With those events, one of the main problems is the high-speed winds. And as we all know, it's not how fast the wind blows, it's what it blows. And so the heavy debris that these winds can blow can break windows and leave those trapped in their house in serious danger. That's where this device comes in. This we call the flat light. A new accessory for a flashlight that redirects the beam of light from a conic shape into a flat plane of light.
I think that's just as important for everyday people. I could have used that twice last week in my house because I couldn't find the glass.
I think it could relatively be one size fits most.
Basically, this part is too large to make out of steel, the machine out of steel in the amount of time you have left. It far exceeds that. So we have to find another means to do it. We could use aluminum, we could use 3D printing, but I don't even know what this is. What is it?
Okay, so this is going to be it's going to be a hammer that falls into a pin that's going to break a car window.
Okay.
So it definitely needs to be metal.
Okay.
Because 3D printing it break apart, and plastic is going to be too light and too soft.
Now you could divide your efforts here, like this 1/2-inch pin, and then you have a taper that's 3D printed and glued and sleeved on there and glued on there and stuff like that. Would that kind of a production work for you?
So this
or it all needs
taper right there is going to ride on a cam.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So the reason we
all
want that
metal.
metal, yeah, kind of that needs to be smooth enough. 3D printed is going to get caught and jammed up.
Okay. So
Yeah.
is this a 45-degree angle?
Technically it's a 60, but really not that critical. If you can
Okay.
get a taper on there,
Yeah.
then I think we'd be happy with that.
Okay. Just
Yeah.
any taper.
Yeah, just a taper.
All right. 45 is easiest. So.
Yeah. If that's what you can do,
All right.
definitely that'll work out.
Okay.
Most of what I did for Wild Creates was turning on a metal lathe. And so I turned a lot of intricate metal parts for them.
So close.
Every time I do one of these, I also learn a lot from the projects and from the teams.
So this is our window glass breaking assembly. We're gonna have these two sitting right on top of each other in a housing, and we're gonna have a cam that fits under here that when you pull down a lever, it's gonna basically lift it up, compressing the spring, release it, it'll come down, hit this, which will hit your car window, hopefully break it so it helps you get out faster.
The main idea isn't actually the glass breaker. That's just an added bonus. The big thing that we have going is whenever you have an accident, the stress and the adrenaline tend to make people not function, and they waste a lot of time trying to get it themselves. So we're making something that'll tell you what to do and help refocus you.
Wild Creates from Kansas State Polytechnic have developed a device to assist a driver that has been in a collision. By combining several existing technologies, they hope they've come up with something new and useful.
You know, in that state of disorientation, maybe speaking sense is to say, look around you and see if there's, electric wires. Look around you and see if anybody's injured.
What it really helped us understand is how to communicate. That was a big takeaway, is we really need to work on communicating how this product's going to work. And
yeah, the biggest thing that we got from the focus group was knowing that we need to get better at explaining our product to be able to pitch it to somebody.
Okay, whenever you're ready. So what we're developing is a disposable health plan tent for evacuation centers.
The biggest little makers, representing the University of Nevada, Reno, are working on a sterile tent to enclose a cot. Their hope is that this invention will not only provide privacy, but also help prevent the spread of illnesses in evacuation centers.
I also like the privacy aspect, though. I think that's really important for those situations because you don't want to, if the light is bothering you, if you want to rest during the middle of the day, you can kind of go in there and have like a somewhat more reduced exposure. That's a great feature.
So the focus group was pretty interesting. They asked a lot of good questions, kind of getting us thinking about our product in a couple of different ways. It was really good to kind of judge their reaction when we pitched it to see these were the parts that they got really excited about, these were the parts they didn't. And so it's definitely going to help us going into the pitch and help us refine our product a little bit. So, okay, this is the areas that we really need to focus on. So we actually did some redesigning after that group, definitely.
Most shelters provide cots. Yeah. And those cots, who knows what's on them, bed bugs, nasty, or whatever. Maybe it's clean, I don't know. But if this was sitting on top, it would just add another layer of protection of...
So the challenge that we were talking about, Daniel and I were talking about, was, all right, this piece is now going across the bottom.
But can it not? Can we manufacture it later in a way? Today, I think you don't have a choice.
Well, that's where I think you go to, now all of a sudden the loop has to be like one over here, or maybe we can just do 2 loops, right?
But it's a panel. Then it becomes
that gets the patent. issue.
Well, we can double check with the lawyers.
Yeah, we can double check with them. It might not be infringing enough. It might
I
be
would prefer,
unique
like
enough.
he said,
Yeah, I
those
think it would be-
cubes. You're building a rectangle cube,
Yeah.
not a cube, but a rectangle
Yeah.
that just kind of.
And you could possibly even skip the top piece and just have the two sides.
Right.
So maybe three
Oh,
loops,
yeah,
a
just
bottom and two sides. and
It's
then
a
there's-
tent look.
Yeah.
So I would think this design would work better because of these reasons. The bar underneath. But what that shows you is you've thought hard enough about that, because the less objections I think you have, the more like, wow, they've thought of everything. And then we were thinking about, I'm a wood guy, so just make a little cot. They got, just take fabric and just sew a little cot and then just show it just setting right on top. Because when you walk up, one just sets the cot on the ground or on the table. The other one walks up while people are coughing. Yeah. But I want to be.
Rice University's superb owls present their idea to the focus group. Having lived through Hurricane Harvey, this team has seen firsthand many of the issues people encounter during an emergency situation. They have developed a product to help cars avoid high water situations. Using multiple sensors, this device registers water depth and alerts the driver.
Is the more common use case that you would be driving in a car about to enter a flood zone, or that your house floods or something in your house floods?
We thought about putting this in houses, yeah. So the problem though is that if you get the house alarm and your house is flooding, you know your house is flooding.
I think the sensor is good. I think one thing though, I'm just thinking next generation of your product would be the app that goes with your phone. I know we're going to do it for this purposes, but if your parking lot starts flooding, it's to know to go move your car because the water is rising at an increased rate, and then move your vehicle, because that's one of the things people don't realize until they realize they're in a valley in a parking lot, and then they flood out their parking lot.
The focus group, we got some positive feedback that our idea seems to be something we should roll forward with, and we got some ideas for potential like future expansions, kind of family of product and or other features that could be added kind of with more than 48 hours.
Okay for guess. This year has been tough for some Americans because there's some school shooting happening at the beginning of the year.
Illinois Maker Lab from the University of Illinois have designed a simple device that can be used quickly and easily in the event of an active shooter. It can be operated by anyone to safely lock an industrial door. The team hopes that the basic design of their product will make it easy and inexpensive to manufacture.
This is the inside of the room. The door is opening out, hinge on this side of the door, slide, and turn to lock.
One thing to think about though is where are they going to store it when they're not using it? And you want it to be accessible near the door. So create some sort of holder or place that they could put it. It's kind of indiscreet.
The questions they ask, I mean, we've already thought about them. So nothing really they threw at us was anything new, right?
Currently, our goal is to be able to create enough pressure so that we can push water through an reverse osmosis membrane. So a quick background on reverse osmosis.
We're dealing with college kids who are super smart, but some of them have got too much into the weeds. They have to be quick. They have to get to the point. The judges and the consumers must know that that product already works. We don't need to know all the technicalities of how it works and why it's doing what it does. We just need to know really quickly what they're trying to solve.
The pressure that is required to go through the RO filter, we're attempting to get that mechanically through our own force, human force. Usually RO processes revolve around using machines, and that's a lot of energy.
The focus group was a little bit surprising. We had an idea of what we were trying to convey initially, and we were going to talk about the issue at hand and then how that led to the need for our product and then how our product actually worked. But the person who was speaking just went straight to how the product worked, and it led to some confusion throughout, and we were all a little disorganized throughout the process.
What separates this from a camping type ceramic filter is that you're literally you're able to do desalination.
Yes.
Okay.
Initially, that is the goal. Our vision, like if you see a puddle of water and it's dirty, you toss the hose in, you pump it, and out will come clean water, ideally.
You just explained it right there. Make sure your video shows that.
If that works, it's be a worthwhile effort.
It's really important though that you hit on the use case situation really early on.
Yeah.
Explain how it works. I didn't get down to the engineering or how, that part of it, but really like, here's a situation. You're in a natural disaster, you need access to water, here's how this works.
I'd say the big takeaway from the focus group was we need to have a more defined story behind our product.
As we told you earlier, a big part of this is the latter stage of the storytelling, the product pitch of your product idea, okay? And part of that is going to be to create a video. We're asking you to create a 1-minute infomercial on your idea, okay? So to help with that, for the creative collaboration part of that, we brought in Talking to Creative. We have Caitlin and Devin here to help you out today. The important thing is, don't wait too late to start the production on that video. I know you're working on your prototypes. Keep working on those prototypes, very important. But at some point, you are going to have at least 1 or 2 members of your team break away and start working on that video and the pitch for tomorrow, okay? So just stay ahead of the clock. Any questions? Are we ready to keep going? All right, we're ready to. Let's do it.
As the prototyping ramps up, the inventors begin meeting with experts from Talking Tree Creative to get started on their product videos.
I guess even if we get a good shot of like whatever the glass, without any, without the solution and the glass with the solution, it's going to be within less than a minute, obviously. So it's probably short enough that you can.
With something like this, I would be more compelled to do that anyway. To not show like a side by side, because it's not like a wiping away a stain.
That's true.
Like a white background or something.
That's a good point.
It's just you can show that like this glass is really hard to see without having the light actually down there casting you long shadows.
And I would maybe show 2 different problem scenarios, like I was saying, like maybe someone holding the flashlight or the phone or whatever it might be, and then also just general overhead light and how people are like looking under, dressers or whatever, and like, oh shoot, I can't see. And then they even try it with that, maybe start with that, and then try with a potential solution that still doesn't work, and then bring in your solution.
So whenever you figure out the script, have the voice say the boiled down, like everything that's crucial that you want to get across, or features that you definitely want to highlight. And then you can show more than you're like saying with the voiceover. Like you can get across like tons of things to the audience with the visuals, and just make sure that the voiceover is within your time constraints or whatever, saying everything that they need to know, where if they're not paying attention to the screen at all, they get like the point of the product.
I feel like the teams are doing pretty good. I think that they've realized that time is of the essence. I think that I'm feeling a lot of them a little bit of panic, or a sense of urgency has kicked in that wasn't there maybe even 3 or 4 hours ago. I think they've finally been getting into prototyping mode, whereas before they were kind of just in the ideation phase, and now they're actually really making some good physical plans, ideas, and then holding the objects in their hands. It's a really tight time frame, so I can't even imagine what kind of stresses these teams are experiencing, having to think of an idea at the start of a whistle, make sure it's a good idea, make sure it doesn't already exist out there, and then not even to figure out the idea, but to figure out how to make it, and then actually make it on top of all the other stuff they have going on. They got to make a production of a video, a sheet, info, all that stuff. I can't imagine the stress that they're under.
Our belief is that nothing great gets done without a deadline. I think most people would agree to that in their daily lives. They will find that when they're up against a deadline, oftentimes the best of themselves comes forth. It's only 48 hours, and there is a lot to do. So these deadlines are there, they're very important, and there are multiples that they have to meet. Deadlines to come up with the idea, deadlines to check and see if there's a patent on that idea, deadlines to create the prototype, and more deadlines in their presentation and their pitch. But the idea here for anyone is that not only these deadlines good, and our deadlines are pretty imposing because they're in 48 hours, but those deadlines can be extrapolated to 48 days, 48 months, whatever they be. but you need to have those deadlines. Those markers are motivators. They help keep you up, keep you going, something to shoot for. And it's something that at the end, you can see the progress made by the time you've reached that deadline, hopefully successfully. It's easy to put ideas off when you don't have those deadlines.
On the next Make48, as the clock counts down, the teams race to the finish line.
So we have the new logo that's going to say Shield instead of this. That is going to go here.
Will all the teams be done when time runs out?
There's a lot of elements, a lot of different team members working on different things.
Tune in to find out.
Stanley Black & Decker provides tools and services around the globe to help turn great ideas into reality and to help us shape the world we live in. We proudly support programming that inspires invention, innovation, and hard work. Together with Make48, we're providing men and women the tools and resources to build a better world. Stanley Black & Decker, for those who make the world.
To learn more about the invention process and to get to know the teams, visit Make48.com.